Welcome to this Aiko presentation with the Harrods online platform. My name is Kevin Robinson. I'm the Business Development Manager for Aiko Solar here in South Africa. So as an introduction, Aiko Solar first had a look at the problem statement. We saw a few things in industry that we believed were problem statements, and a few of those were low efficiency limitations, generation under low light performance conditions, safety and reliability issues, aesthetics and design, and then lastly durability and degradation. So we've broken down some of these problem statements into the graph that you can see there, and amongst those one of the biggest ones is the hotspot issues, which includes junction box and backsheets burning as well, which is included under that category. So as industry has developed, we've seen efficiency increases slowly happen as the technology has changed. And what we've also noticed is that there's a small gap between the current TOPCon technology and then also the practical limits of efficiency in terms of mass production of these solar cells, and finally the theoretical limits. So where we fit in is we have slotted in above the TOPCon technology with our all-back contact technology with up to 27.5% efficiency. Looking at this in the graphical representation, we can see there with the different technologies and the different efficiencies how that compares on the graph. And there once again we can see with Aiko all-back contact technology that we're sitting around 2 to 2.5% higher than the TOPCon technology. And one of the ways that we achieve that is removing all the front side contacts on the solar cell and putting all the electrical contacts on the back side of the solar cell, which gives us a number of technology advantages. So there in the table you can see the differences in the different technologies as well as the comparison between the technologies. So some of the main advantages of the all-back contact technology is that because the electrical connections are moved all to the back side of the solar cell, we get no shading on the front side of the solar cell because of those electrical connections. In our technology, we're using no silver in the electrical connections, which has got a number of advantages. And one of the biggest ones is a low temperature coefficient. So we have minus 0.26% temperature coefficient, and then finally as a result the higher efficiencies sitting at 27 to 28% efficiency in mass production. So who is Aiko Solar? Aiko Solar is actually a company that is more than 15 years old. We've been in industry since 2009 with a number of key milestones over the period of time. So traditionally we focused on solar cell manufacturing, but up until 2021 we were not producing our own solar modules. We were only selling to the rest of the industry. So some of the key milestones in 2018 and 2019, we had the world's highest shipment of PERC technology, PERC solar cells. But from 2021 we developed the all-back contact technology, and from then on we started to manufacture our own solar modules, being the all-back contact solar panels. We do, however, still sell other solar cell technology to other solar module manufacturers. With regards to our global representation, we've got main production facilities in China, but we have a global representation, and some of the key milestones there in Australia, we've currently got more than 30% market share, and we've got a very big footprint based in Europe. Currently our footprint in South Africa is relatively new. We've been here since the middle of 2024, and we're slowly growing that footprint. Our stock has been with Harrods since the end of last year, when it arrived in around November 2024. We are a tier 1 module manufacturer, and we've also got a number of awards from KOA PVL, where we awarded the top performer in that extended reliability testing, and we've also been awarded the Red Dot Award. With regards to our production capacity, right now we've got around 35 gigawatts of all back contact solar cell technology, and we're planning to achieve 106 gigawatts production of the all back contact technology across our different production facilities. Research and development is quite an important topic for us. We spend around 20% of our annual budget on research and development, and we've got a number of partners in the European market. The most important for us is the association through the Solar Labs with Fraunhofer Institute based in Freiburg in Germany. So this video, what we see in this video is a video of the manufacturing facility. So one thing that is unique about our production facility is that from start to finish we have one production line. So we start with the solar cell manufacturing, going all the way through to the solar module production. And that's something that's quite unique in our industry. It's the world first in the industry. So Aiko's all-back technology, what we have is three main value propositions. We have what we class as the higher energy yield, and typically speaking we're getting around 6 to 10% higher energy yield than TOPCon technology. We talk about higher returns because of our partial shading optimization technology, lower temperature coefficient, and better degradation. So it's less than 1% in the first year. From year 2 to year 30, it's less than 0.35%. And then finally, the last one is safety. We talk about safety because of our partial shading optimization technology. Solar cells are operating at a lower temperature, so we avoid things like hotspots and cells burning. And then we also have the solar cells are less susceptible to microcracking because of the technology, but also because of the use of copper in the solar cells. This is a graphical representation by a publication called Tiang News. In the last 19 publications, Aiko Solar has been listed as the highest efficiency solar cell and solar module in mass production, and also we have the highest power class in mass production. The next video we're going to see is a demonstration of the partial shading technology. So in this particular video we have two different modules of two different technologies. We've got our all back contact technology, and we're comparing it to a solar module with TOPCon technology. In this video you'll notice that there's two multimeters, and we're measuring the voltage of the output of the solar modules, and at the same time in the background you can see two pumps. And what happens is, as the solar cells are shaded, the flow rate of the pumps is adjusted and the voltage of the multimeters changes. And it's just a graphical representation of how our partial shading technology works, ensuring high voltages and better energy generation under the shading conditions. video is, once again, it's a graphical representation of the shading technology. So in the two different scenarios, you see a conventional model. When there's shading on the solar cells, the bypass diode goes into forward bias and you lose the entire substring in that portion of the module that's shaded. In the case of the all-back contact technology, where the solar cell gets shaded, we're only losing the power in the solar cell, not the entire string, and that's purely because of our partial shading optimization. Here we have a study by TUV Nord, where they show that under the shading conditions we can get up to 30% increase in energy generation compared to the TOPCon technology. In this slide, what we're looking at is three practical examples of solar module performance under the various shading conditions. So in the first example, we have the TOPCon and the all-back contact technology installed on a fixed tilt structure, and there are trees that cause shading throughout the course of the day. In the second scenario, we have a cardboard that casts shadows across the module during the course of the day. And in the last scenario, we have tape, which is taped across the bottom of the module, and that simulates the soiling when the modules are at low angles. So we're trying to simulate the shading that you have because of that dust collecting on the bottom of the modules. So in the three different scenarios, we're getting increased energy generation compared to the TOPCon technology. In the tree shading scenario, we're getting 12% increase in energy generation compared to the TOPCon technology. With regards to the cardboard that's causing the obstacle shading the modules during the course of the day, we're getting up to 50% increase in energy generation. And with the soiling simulation, we're getting around 5% increase in energy generation. So with the temperature coefficient, we have a better temperature coefficient comparing to TOPCon technology, who has a minus 0.29% per degree Celsius degradation according to the temperature. We have a minus 0.26% degradation per degree Celsius. What's important to notice on this graph is that the solar cells are typically operating at around 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, higher than the ambient temperature. So when we're doing the comparisons, on that graph, you should consider the sort of the 70 to 80 degrees Celsius range. And in those scenarios, it's showing that we have 1.4 to 1.7% increase in energy generation under real operating conditions. So this table just gives a better graphical representation how that actually compares in real life with regards to actual power. So looking at the different temperatures on the left-hand side, we can see there comparing the Aiko all-back contact technology to the TOPCon technology, 32 to 35 watt peak higher, which is a 9 to 12.5% increase in energy generation. And what that also shows is over the lifetime of the module, we can get up to 500 kilowatt hours more energy generation from the all-back contact technology comparing to the TOPCon, and that just means that you get better returns over the lifetime of that solar module. So this slide shows the higher returns based on the lower degradation. So in the first year we have less than 1% degradation, and from year 2 onwards to year 30 we have less than 0.35% degradation. So once again, looking at the tabular comparison between our all-back contact technology and the TOPCon technology, we can get around 7.5% increase in energy generation purely based on the degradation. So when you consider the different factors, the higher efficiency, the better shading performance, and the lower degradation, it means that over a 25 to 30 year period, this is where the real value comes in. Much better returns when you consider the entire generation over that 30 year lifetime of the solar panel. This next video shows the better temperature performance of the solar cell under a shading condition. So what you'll see in the video is we place a little piece of cardboard over the solar cell, we leave it there for an hour, and then we come back and measure the solar cell temperature with an infrared camera. And what you can see is that there's around about 45-degree temperature differential between the two solar cells. What that means is that because of the better temperature performance, there's less susceptibility to things like solar cells burning, thermal runaway happening, and ultimately fire happening as a result of that solar cell burning or the backsheet burning. So how does this work in practice? If you look at the two different cell technologies, the conventional cell has electrical connections on the front and the back side, and when you have a shading condition, your cell goes into reverse bias. So that means your solar cell becomes a resistive element, and because the current has been forced through that solar cell, that resistance in the solar cell is generating the heat. And this is why the solar cell heats up under the shading conditions. And ultimately, over a long period, if you have consistent shading over those solar cells, you have what we call thermal runaway, and the temperature starts to increase, and it can get up to 250 degrees or even higher. And this is when you start to see the solar cell burning, or backsheet burning, fires in the solar panel. With the all-back contact technology, because all of the electrical connections are on the back side of the solar cell, it means that we're not forcing current through the solar cell. You don't have that resistive element, and the solar cell is not heating up as much. We still do have electrical current passing through the junction at the backside, so there is a limited amount of heating, but if you compare to the conventional solar technology, this is why the all-back contact technology doesn't heat up under the shading conditions like you would have with the conventional technology. We talk about safety, so there's three aspects with regards to this. The first one is less susceptibility to microcracking. In the first instance, where you have electrical connections going from the front to the back side, there is a Z shape that the electrical connection forms, and that is a high stress point. So around that connection, quite often you can have microcracks developing from that stress point. The second option, or second area where we get a better resistance to microcracking, is we're using the copper technology, the copper electrodes on the back side of the solar cell. Because of the softer material and much more electrical connections on the back side, it gives the solar cell much better durability and much better resistance to microcracking when that solar cell is subjected to stresses like wind loads, mechanical loads on the solar panel. In this video, we have a demonstration where we drop a 2 kilogram weight on the solar cell. The 2 kilogram weight has little fingers on it which cause indentations in the solar cell, and what we'll see in the video is the comparison between the all-back contact technology and the conventional crystalline solar cell. In each instance, you'll see that the all-back contact solar cell is only damaged where you have the impact zones, whereas with the conventional crystalline solar cell, the cell shatters and you get quite a lot of electrical losses out of that. So in the first part, it's just a mechanical demonstration to see how the weight impacts the solar cell. In the second scenario, what we've done is we've actually connected the solar cells with electrical contacts, and we're measuring the current before and after the cell is damaged, and there you can see the difference. In the case of the all-back contact technology, there's around a 16% loss in current as a result of the damage that caused to the cell. However, in the crystalline solar cell technology, it's around about 45% loss in current as a result of that damage to the cell. In this slide, you see the three different product scenarios or product ranges that we have. So we've got the NeoStar, which is typically suited for the residential. So that's a 54 and a 60 cell. So from the 465 watt peak range. And then the 60 cell, which is around about a 500 watt peak range. Harold's is currently stocking the 500 watt peak range in the all black. So black cells, black back sheet, and the black frames, so you get no visual differentiation because of the electrical connections on the front and back. A nice homogeneous look, all black solar module. The next case that we have is the Comet series, which is the higher power classes, so that's a 605, 625 and a 650 watt peak solar module. And then finally we have the utility products, which we currently do not stock in country. This is just a picture of a Aiko all-back contact solar cell. So we have the solar cell with a black back sheet and then the black frame, and what it is it just shows what the solar cell looks like. Because there's no electrical contacts on the front side of the solar cell, you have a nice homogeneous look around the solar cell. And if we turn the solar cell sample over, on the back side you can see all the electrical connections on the back side. And because of this technology with no bus bars on the front, all the electrical connections on the back side of the solar cell, it just gives a visual demonstration of how the technology looks. And during the next videos you will see why this gives us the advantage in terms of efficiency and better performance of the energy generation out of the solar cell technology. So I hope you found this video informative. It's just a real basic introduction to Aiko, our value proposition around the all-back contact technology. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the sales team, or they can put you in touch with me. So thank you for your attention, and look forward to you seeing Aiko solar panels on the roof.